everyone. It is currently the 4th of December 2014, making this update right around 09 Universal Standard Time. That's about 5 p.m. Philippine Standard Time here on a Thursday, and what we are seeing out here right now is definitely an intensifying storm system. Typhoon Hagupit, now rated as a violent typhoon from the Japan Meteorological Agency, JTWC, has this rated as a super typhoon. If Pagasa had their new scale they're expected to adopt in 2015, they would also have this rated as a super typhoon, and it is definitely a very serious storm system here for the Philippines. You can just take a look back at previous storms out here and what they have caused as far as the damage, casualty toll they have taken. Typhoon Haiyan, 7,000, 2013. Typhoon Bofa, over 1,100 casualties in 2012. Now, I'm not saying that Typhoon Hagupit will do the same amount of destruction and potentially the casualty mark, but if you look at previous storms, it does give an idea about the vulnerability of this area of the Philippines when it comes to these storms. I mean, people here are still picking up after Typhoon Haiyan just over a year ago. This image was taken just a few weeks ago during the memorial services there on 8th. But the reason why I had such a long introduction there is because I want people to realize that if you are being warned on from this storm, you really need to take it quite seriously. This is a very strong storm and potentially very destructive. You can see that very clear and defined eye in that center of circulation. Outflow in the northern periphery. This has huge lungs just wrapping around, and it still has that feeder band coming in from the south. So we're expecting more intensification. Actually, the Joint Typhoon Warning Center expects winds to max out around 380 kilometers per hour. Latest update, I mean, that is absolutely surreal. The 370 there. If we look back towards the east, 380 peaking out at. That is beyond, that is definitely super typhoon category, but well above it. Even JMA, based on their 10-minute wind skill, has it up to a super typhoon category here with 306 kilometers per hour. Now, I'm showing you the intensity. This is a very strong storm system. I think everybody gets that. Where exactly is it going? Well, I'll be honest with you, and the question I've been getting from everybody today, because there is a lot of confusion. I mean, take a look. This is just showing you the agencies really warning on this storm. You have JTWC farther towards the north here. Actually, this one right here, that is Pagasa moving over central portions of Samar. And then JMA and all the other Northeast Asian agencies keeping it down towards the south, rolling directly over Tacloban, basically in line with the ECMWF model. To be honest, and I definitely respect JMA, they are the RSMC for this area, but I think they're going to trend farther towards the north. I'm not as in line with JTWC at this point, but as far as a point of landfall, and I don't say this all too often, Pagasa, I think they have it down. I think this is going to come on shore somewhere in Samar Saturday night going into Sunday as it does track off there towards the west. And really, for those of you on the northern periphery of this storm system, that is where you're going to be seeing the worst of the conditions. Basically extending through much of central and northern Samar, southern portions of Luzon. That's where the threat of storm surge, especially into the low-lying areas just towards the north of the track. We're talking about these bays and inlets. One of the big problems with Tacloban last year, the storm system came right through this area, track kind of like this, and that right front eye wall pushed that water right up the bays here. Now, if this moves over towards Samar, it's not as vulnerable, but there are still a lot of vulnerable areas out here. And if you get that water flowing into some of the bays and pushing up kind of like a funnel, that's where you could see a very serious threat of storm surge, especially with a storm of this intensity. I can't stress it enough, and I think everybody out here realizes it, and that's why there is forced evacuations at this time. But even after the storm moves inland, here's the deal. I think ECMWF is a little bit farther towards the south, but it is going to weaken, but it's moving very slow. So just kind of superimposes farther towards the north, and we're talking about the risk of flooding across much of central northern Visayas and also southern Luzon, and eventually this could bring some rough weather over towards Manila. I know we have a lot of people watching from Manila, and I say that in the sense of trying to give you the best information possible. We have people from the Westpac weather team in Manila. I'm based in Tokyo. I realize I'm not there, but also videographer James Reynolds is down there now. He's deciding on where to go. We have people from our team in Visayas. Really, we're trying to figure out this one, guys, and what we do see is at least the JTWC track pretty good consensus that we all feel like this is a little bit farther towards the east. It's going to be making landfall. That should weaken it before it comes towards Manila. But remember, the Philippine Islands, I mean, there's a lot of warm water even while this storm system's over land to feed into this. Is the track from Bagasa. They do have it going on that west-northwesterly track, basically progging out what we are seeing right now. There is a cold over the central Philippines, and that's kind of like a dead zone in the air patterns out here. That could also allow for that northwesterly projection, vice what JMA is showing just a little bit farther towards the south. Basically, at this point, and I had discussed it with a lot of Mets this morning, what we are looking at and what you are seeing out here, guys, is a lot of dynamics in play, and still at this time, watch that cone of air. I know the center line is important when we're talking about strong typhoons, especially that inner eye wall. But as far as planning purposes, if you are in that cone, especially now that we're getting up towards about 48 hours out, it could at the very least, get tropical storm strength winds, which is enough to cause some damage. But those of you, as I stressed earlier, in eastern Samar, Leyte, and southern Luzon, especially along the eastern seaboards, this one is going to come on shore with veracity that we have not seen since November of last year. Even Ramasoon, or Glenda, as a lot of people out here know it as, was still a fairly serious storm system, and I think this one could be stronger. Just wrapping it up here, this is actually our thoughts here from westernpacificweather.com. A few of us talked about this. Expecting that landfall there into Samar. As I mentioned, that cone of air, though, it still could waver. And then making that northwesterly jog into a cold right there over central portions of Luzon. That could bring that rough weather eventually there by Sunday in across the Manila area. But the exact timeline still could waver, but I think this is going to be the general track, or at least forward movement of the storm. All right, guys, that is all for right now. Thanks again for watching this whole update. Dan, a lot of you are worried, and we're definitely doing our best to relay the information you are sharing with us. If you have any reports on the ground, what things are like, people preparing ahead of the storm and during the storm, please relay with us on our Facebook page. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at Robert Speta. And the big thing is always stay safe. I like to say is if it looks like you are in danger, you probably are. Your human instincts will not fail you in a scenario like this. All right, guys, that is all. And once again, thanks for watching.